Good evening. It's Wednesday, the 1st of July, and welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast, Prime Minister's Questions Special. I'm Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sansbury. Good evening, Ian. Was there any news for any footballists? Was that the
My phone pinging just before was to tell you that England had come back from 1-0 down against the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Captain Harry Kane with 2 goals. I'd seen them sneak through 2-1, but I couldn't lose because I had the DR Congo in the gym sweepstakes. So England march on, national pride, feel good. Another PMQs. Last couple of outings for the great man himself,
that other guy.
Kay.
Yeah.
And how did he do today?
Well, yes, it's weird. He seems to be tell me what you think, but I think he seems to be enjoying them more, knowing that he's got very few of them left. Or at least he's enjoying them more. Whether that's the reason or not, obviously, who can tell? So anyway, yes. So I've done a bit of trimming because otherwise it kind of goes on for a bit today. But the Prime Minister opens up talking about the Defence Investment Plan and talking about support for Venezuela, the horrific situation in Venezuela. But then the first question is by Dr. Al Pinkerton from the Lib Dems, who's the member for Surrey Heath, who's there.
Are you sure? Wasn't he the detective that ended up getting Al Capone?
I don't know, but let's put a pin in that. If anybody wants to tell us whether that's a happy coincidence, then please do. But welcome to the show. Do remember to give us a like, follow, subscribe wherever you're catching us. Do give us your comments below. We'd love to hear what you've got to say about it. But essentially, his question was about the hospital that's being rebuilt, basically in his constituency, and the concern that will be impinging on some historic woodland, and that asking the PM to comment on whether something should be looked into. That it's come to light that as far back as 2023. Other local politicians were previously discussing that site when actually the site hadn't actually been decided. And is that a concern, and is that an open process? And sorry to have deprived you of it, because Keir Starmer's response was essentially lots of stuff about how they've picked up the pieces of how Boris Johnson promised 40 hospitals and did absolutely jack. His hospital's top of the queue. It's first, and he's going to get a fantastic new hospital. But it was concerning to see on the guy's literature that he expressed concern that if the hospital goes ahead, there won't be a golf course. To which Keir Starmer commented, "That's peak Lib Dem. You can't get much more Lib Dem than that." It was his remark. So
wow.
When you hear Leader of the Opposition Kemi Badenoch say in a minute that she wants to echo his sentiment about the Lib Dems, that's what she's referring to. So should we get straight into it?
Leader of the Opposition Kemi Badenoch.
Okay. What? Tell us in the comments, guys, what you think the first question is going to be about, and also let us know how you think that the PM fares in the answers. I think we'll let it run for a couple of questions and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
Leader of the Opposition Kemi Badenoch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I associate myself and this side of the House with the Prime Minister's comments about Venezuela and also about the Lib Dems? Mr. Speaker. But seriously, Mr. Speaker, the Chief of Defence Staff made it known that the armed forces needed a minimum of £28 billion more to defend the country. Can the Prime Minister tell us why he thinks half that amount is enough?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud that this Labour government has delivered 2 major funding increases in just 2 years in government. The first, which was funded by overseas aid, took us to £270 billion over the spending review period. Mr. Speaker, that is a record The Defence Investment Plan gives us capability we need for the future. That sets a new record, Mr Speaker, of £300 billion over the next 4 years. That will be invested in drones and autonomous weapons, the largest ever investment, strengthening the UK's nuclear capability, upgrading our naval bases in the most significant way for 45 years, and confirming our commitment to the next generation of fighter jets. That is what is needed to keep our country safe.
Mr Speaker, he didn't say that it was enough, and that was a very long list of things that he's not yet paying for. It is not right and it is not fair, certainly not to our troops who put their lives on the line for all of us every single day. 3 weeks ago, Mr Speaker, 3 weeks ago, the Defence Secretary resigned, saying, "I am being forced to make decisions that would increase the risk to personnel on operations and could make the country less safe." Since that letter, the Prime Minister has only increased spending by 0.01%. We can count, the generals can count, the Kremlin can count. His plan doesn't add up. How can the Prime Minister possibly stand there and say that this is enough?
Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, this is the most significant upgrade in defence spending since the 1980s. The Chief of Defence Staff has been clear that the plan accelerates the transformation we need for our armed forces. The First Sea Lord, it funds the capability we need to fight and win. The Chief Air Staff strengthens our contribution to NATO, and she must have missed that yesterday the Secretary-General of NATO welcomed the plan. All people who know what's in the plan and welcome it. Contrast that, Mr Speaker, with their record in government, because they hollowed out the armed forces. Their record is cutting defence spending. My record is raising it to £300 billion and rising. Their record is cutting frigates by a quarter, cutting mine hunters by a half, and leaving 47 of 49 defence programmes delayed or over budget. My record is the biggest boost to defence investment since the 1980s. Their record is missing army recruitment targets every year for 14 years. We've given our armed force the biggest pay rise for 20 years and increased defence funding by £15 billion a year. That's a record I'm proud to stand on.
So, defence. Who'd have thought that that would be the first thing out of the track?
Well, in the style of England football, the defence is leaky. But, well, I mean, for me, fair question, fair response. The only thing I find fascinating is obviously drones. Drones is the future, isn't it? Do you think we'll get made in China where we can get made cheaper?
Well, I don't know. I think a lot of the talk about how that investment turns into jobs in this country would be spending that money here. So that it is a valid question as to where do we get those from. But it is also a kind of a point to, if all of these drones rely heavily on AI infrastructure and telecommunication systems that are predominantly owned and operated by the United States of America, when they're not necessarily entirely reliable as a willing participant these days, I don't know. There's a bit of me that kind of thinks that yes, it's great. It seems a good. I mean, obviously, I don't know the detail, and I'm not a military strategist, but it seems from the war in Ukraine that actually that's where a lot of the investment and a lot of the military success has come from, and a lot of the and that's basically improved in kind of leaps and bounds. So it does seem silly to spend billions of pounds preparing for the last war instead of
and if you look at the USA-Iran conflict, you know, the USA rocks up with its giant ships and its £4 billion F-97 super duper strike doodahs, and Iran sticks up a drone that somebody's built in a shed, drops a bomb on drops grenades on a vessel, and it is that element of you're firing a cannon at a cloud of gnats. So Yeah, I think we're going to put that down as a question asked and a question answered. A rare treat. Let's go on.
It was. Let's see how that carries on.
Mr. Speaker, the Chief of Defence Staff is an honourable man, and what he and the NATO Secretary-General have done is welcome the fact that a plan has been published. Just that it's been published. They've been waiting for over a year. Strategic Defence Review was last year. He is an honourable man, Mr. Speaker, who is having to make do with very little. The threat level has dramatically changed in the 2 years that the Prime Minister has been in office. Poland, since the Prime Minister took office, Poland has increased their funding to 4.8%. Germany has increased theirs to 3.7%. This year, Russia will spend 10% of GDP on defence. Meanwhile, Britain is spending it all on welfare. Even the limited plan that he has announced has
Sorry, were you trying to grab me?
Yeah, I was, because that really is a nonsense. Russia is spending 10% on defence.
No, it's spending
Russia's
10%
spending
on
10% on
war.
being at war.
Yes.
Just
having invaded a sovereign country that it promised that it would protect. Yes.
Yeah, and Poland are spending that much on defence because
they're next.
They're next, and there's an element of also Poland hasn't got a very big economy. Guns and bombs, if I may quote, they're still expensive. They cost the same. So percentage of GDPR is like, oh, stop it. And yeah, I just had to intervene because I just thought that's a really stupid way of framing the spending.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. I mean, those are just numbers. But as you say, the countries that are closest to Russia and who feel most at risk or at threat of being invaded or attacked by her are likely to be spending lots of money now to deter such attacks.
Yes,
and that makes eminent sense. That's not a reason for not spending as much as we need to on our defence, but it is a bit of a crazy equivalence, isn't it? Anyway, let's get back.
Play.
Yeah.
Completely unravelled because he hasn't found the money to pay for it. It is £5 billion short. We all know that he is leaving this mess to his successor. So can he confirm that the member for Makerfield has agreed to fund the shortfall?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what they did was to cut defence spending. When they came into power, defence spending was 2.5%. What did they do? They cut it to 2.3%, a cut. But on welfare, what did they do? They put it up by £88 billion. So we'll take no lectures from them about either welfare or defence. This is £15 billion of new investment for defence, delivered outside of a budget, outside of a spending review. Mr. Speaker, that's about £1 billion a year over 4 years. Because of the decisions at the last budget, we've got headroom of £22 billion. That is precisely so we can take decisions like this. We delivered it outside a budget, outside a spending review. Just like we did with the special educational needs, outside a budget, outside a spending review. Just like the previous government did, Mr. Speaker, when they announced their 5-year NHS plan in 2018, outside a budget, outside a spending review. And what did they say when they were challenged about it, Mr. Speaker? I'll quote. We will be able to explain exactly where every penny is coming from, but we will do that in the budget. That was the former Health Secretary, then the Chancellor. When they published their Integrated Defence Review in 2020, what did they do? They set out the funding at the next spending review. So let's drop the faux outrage, focus on what matters, the biggest sustained increase for 40 years, the biggest increase for 45 years, providing what is needed to keep the country safe.
Mr. Speaker, he says that he's delivering this outside the budget. That's right, it should have been in the last budget. The Strategic Defence Review was published last year. It should have been in the last budget, not the next budget. The intelligence assessment that he himself has said we have says there could be an attack on NATO by 2030. But this plan doesn't deliver until after that. £5 billion is missing from his plan. It also relies on £11 billion of unidentified savings. The plan has unravelled. It is a total dereliction of duty, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. The Times newspaper said today the Prime Minister's legacy... well, why don't we wait and see what they said? That the Prime Minister's legacy is betrayal, failure and vulnerability, and that's one of the nicer headlines. So I will ask again, because he didn't answer the question, Mr. Speaker, did the member for Makerfield know that he was going to have to find £5 billion for the Prime Minister's plan?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when I became Prime Minister 2 years ago, this country spent £54 billion a year on defence. Because of the decisions we've taken, that will rise to £80 billion a year by 2029. That is a real terms increase of 27%, transforming our armed forces. And we're not going to take any lectures from the party opposite. They cut defence spending. They hollowed out the armed forces. That's what their Defence Secretary admitted that's what they did. They don't like it. They won't defend their record, Mr. Speaker, because they can't. They won't apologise for it, because they have to admit what we all know, it's a total failure. They just try to pretend the 14 years they were in power never really happened. We're in power, we're recording investment in defence and security. I'm proud of this Labour government, and any Labour Prime Minister would stand behind this plan.
We'll pause there.
Any Labour Prime Minister.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Have we got any ideas?
Who that might be? Do you want to like toss a comment or something?
I'm just reaching for my black T-shirt and suit jacket.
I don't know about you, but this is.
It's the best he's done since we started doing PMQs. When pretty much every week, would the Right Honourable Kemi Badenoch go on beat him to death, and she does every week. But he's coming back. He's swinging hard. For me, he's, and I think what I like about him this week, which is different, is he's doing it 14 years, but he's doing this is our record since we've been here, and I'm proud of that. But we can argue and jot and tittle about the details, but that's where you should be.
Yeah, he's making the case for what they have done, and comparing that to what preceded it. Instead of saying, effectively, well, of course it's rubbish, but look at what the mess was that you left us with.
Exactly.
14 years. But this is fighting stuff. This is it's just kind of really kind of
too late.
It's handing in your best homework 2 weeks before the end of term. I don't quite. Should we get more?
Let's go.
It doesn't sound like he's told the member for Makerfield to find £5 billion. He says any Labour Prime Minister would stand behind this plan. Let me tell him what Lord Richard Dannett, the former head of the Army, said yesterday. He said the Prime Minister had chosen the cheap option and called the plan woefully inadequate. Let me tell him what General Sir Richard Barrons, one of the authors of his own Strategic Defence Review, said yesterday. We are simply not going to be ready to defend this country properly. That's what they're saying. The reason that he is in this mess is because he was too weak to cut welfare when he had the chance. There are only three ways, Mr. Speaker, to find the missing $5 billion. Increase borrowing, increase taxes, or cut welfare. Which one will he recommend to the member for Makerfield?
Mr. Speaker, we're talking about £1 billion a year over 4 years. The decisions at the last budget gave us more than £22 billion in headroom, so we can take the decisions that they don't understand this because they trashed the old. We built a headroom of £22 billion. The very reason for the headroom is to have the credibility to take decisions outside the budget and outside the spending review. They don't understand it because they lost control of the public finances. In addition to on defence and security, we've taken control of the public finances. That's why you have headroom to take credible decisions like this. £1 billion a year over 4 years, headroom of £22 billion because of the decisions we took at the last budget, which allow us to take these decisions.
Mr. Speaker, we understand it perfectly, and that's why, yes we do, that's why he is leaving and so is his Chancellor. They're laughing and pretending, but if he was doing such a fabulous job, why did he resign? Mr. Speaker, defence of the realm is the first duty of government. Yes, it is the first duty of government. I don't need to read again what General Sir Richard Barrons or Lord Richard Dannatt said. Maybe they didn't hear it the first time. They can re-watch the clips. But defence of the realm, Mr. Speaker, is the first duty of government. Britain is facing a moment of danger unlike anything in our lifetimes, unlike anything that we saw even in government. We need a plan to fund our armed forces that meets this moment. They are the government for now, not for 10 years ago. And the fact is, Labour's plan is too weak, it is too little, and it is too late. If his successor doesn't want to be complicit in this failure, he should come out and condemn this plan. The money must be found, Mr. Speaker, and that money should come from cutting welfare, something these Labour MPs will not do. And if the Labour Party cannot defend our country, Mr. Speaker, what is the point of them?
It's just all talk. What did they actually do? They cut defence 2.5% down to 2.3% in their 14 long years. And what did on welfare? They put the bill up by £88 billion. So no lectures from them. They failed in the first duty of government. And they won't defend their record, will they? They won't stand here and defend it because they know that never do they stand here and defend their record because they can't. 14 years of failure. They don't get up and apologise, which is what they should do, because they would admit what we all know how much they failed. So they just sit there pretending it didn't happen. Well, it did happen. You hollowed out the armed forces. We're correcting you. And I tell you what else, when we came into power, public services were on their knees. Today, we've seen the fastest fall in NHS waiting lists for 17 years. When I became Prime Minister, we inherited a broken economy. Today, we're outperforming the other G7 economies. When I became Prime Minister, our international alliances have been shredded. Now other countries are looking to us to lead on defence and security. Foundations of a stronger and fairer country. Britain in a better state than we found it. That's the difference a Labour government makes.
Well, so you should elect me for 5 more years.
It sounds like he's about to go into a general election. But he's not.
Oh, no. No, isn't it fascinating, isn't it? Because for me, the answer that he came up with is kind of boiled my brain a little bit, which is 5 billion, that's £1 billion a year, sweetheart. That's not a problem. We got 22 billion spare. Rachel from accounts has sorted that right out. We got 22 billion tucked in a cupboard somewhere. We just take 5 of them out, spend it on defence, bish bosh, Bob's your uncle. Why he's turned into an East End character, I can't tell you.
I don't know why he's got a fruit stall and outside the Queen Vic. I don't know, but nonetheless,
exactly that. But the point is that there's a little bit of, and I wonder whether if we go back to the start of his tenure, 20 billion black hole. Well, isn't he telling us there that not only has he filled the 20 billion black hole, but he's got 22 billion spare?
20 billion reserve.
Yeah.
Strange that they're the same figure, isn't it?
Well, and there's a little bit of me, Simon, that is it a bit of foretelling? Is it a bit of, oh, we've seen you right, we got 22 billion spare and happy days are here again. And when the Minister for Mascara takes office, then at that point, are we going to see some of that? Well, I suppose there's only 18 billion spare now, because obviously we need to, 17, because we need to put 5 aside for defence. Is some of that 17 billion's worth of joy going to be sprinkled amongst us to make us feel good? Who knows?
Well, who knows? Well, the problem is all of those questions are the next person's problem or pleasure.
Indeed.
So, but it was interesting. Kemi was certainly not enjoying this exchange as much as she has done in recent weeks, and she certainly wasn't smirking as much. She certainly, she wasn't literally
You can't
just
win
picking
all,
apart
Simon.
members of the front bench.
Yeah.
So
No, she absolutely had a day out last week, didn't she?
yes,
And yeah. So this week, I think there's an element of I think for once, Sir Kay has brought his A game to Fight Club, and he's done all
yeah.
right.
I don't know if you heard James cleverly saying from the Tory front bench at one point, "Well, why are you going?" which
Well, again, in his rousing bit at the end there, it's like, yeah. Give me 5 more years. You've only got 3 weeks, mate.
yeah.
Sorry.
Haven't you just
Yeah.
handed in your resignation, mate?
Yeah.
So yes, a very good performance from Keir Starmer. Weird to peak before the end, but there you go. Let's move on.
Sir Ed David, leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I not associate myself with the Prime Minister's comments about my party? But can I associate myself with all his remarks about the earthquake and humanitarian catastrophe in Venezuela? And can I commend the Scottish team and the Scottish fans on the joy they brought to the World Cup? They did the whole of Scotland proud. And can I wish England well against DR Congo later today? But with Rhys James and Gerald Quansah in doubt, I know the Prime Minister isn't the only one struggling for a solid defence plan. Mr. Speaker, the wars in Ukraine and Iran show us how seriously we must take the threat of missiles and drones hitting our country. Our national security requires the best possible missile defence system, including Royal Navy destroyers. But the funding in his plan for this falls dangerously short. Yet the Prime Minister has rejected our proposals for defence bonds, which were used in the past to rearm our country. So can the Prime Minister tell us why has he chosen to leave our country so vulnerable to missile attack?
Prime Minister.
Can I first join him on his comments about the Scotland team, the Scotland fans, and wish England well? I'm not sure about his gag. He was getting a bit better the other week, but he's gone back down. I'm afraid that one is a red card. But, Mr. Speaker, our defence investment plan gives our country what we need to fight now and into the future, the capability that's been assessed through the strategic review. Bonds, which we looked at very closely, are simply borrowing by another name, and we are already borrowing in a way which requires us to spend £1 in every 10 on servicing the interest on that. And I would gently point out, before he carries on with any criticism of our plan, that he sat in a cabinet that cut defence spending by 22%.
Sir Ed Davey.
The Prime Minister knows that our defence bonds are within his own fiscal rules, that he's had advice from his own team that he should adopt them, and I hope the Right Honourable Member for Makerfield will listen. But, Mr. Speaker, I have another concern that I think the Prime Minister will share. The rising tide of racist violence and hate that we're seeing in our country, and the way it's being incited and normalised, including, I'm afraid, by some members of this House. I was talking to a British friend of Indian ancestry who told me how reform activists came to her door and said that if they get into power, she and her family will have their passports seized and their citizenship revoked. Does the Prime Minister agree that racism has no place in our country? And will he join me in condemning anyone who is stoking it?
Can I thank him for raising this? It is really important because our politics is becoming more diverse and racism and intolerance is permeating everywhere. And we have to deal with it because it's tearing our societies apart. It is keeping good people away from politics because they don't want to be involved in it. And it should be called out by every single person who's a politician at any level in this country. But, Mr. Speaker, I say this looking at the plaque to Joe Cox, and of course we've got David Amos behind me too. We had a Joe Cox 10-year reminder that it was 10 years ago, just a week or so ago, that we lost Jo, and I had a reception in Downing Street with her parents and other close friends and relatives of hers. We read out the words of Jo again. The very sad thing is, I was not able to say that in the 10 years since Jo's death, things have got better, because sadly, they've got worse. That's on us to fix, all of us to fix, every single member of this House, whatever their party in, and anybody who flames it should be absolutely ashamed of themselves.
Alex Ballinger.
So,
Well,
bad jokes notwithstanding that didn't land.
bad jokes notwithstanding, the Lib Dems are pushing the defence bonds again. Yes, but it is borrow. He's answered it, which is it's borrowing under another name.
Yes,
and the
but
answer
allowed
is yes.
under their rules.
Yes,
So
you can do it under their rules, but it's still borrowing money that you're going to have to pay back at some time. So not very Labour. Again, historically, Labour more inclined to borrow. A point at the end there about the racism. It really is, for me. It is something that it's just becoming normalised, and I just it befuddles me. I saw something related to a Portsmouth group only yesterday, and it was AI generated absolute nonsense. 15-year-old girl was sexually assaulted as she came out of Victoria Park by a foreign man. And that was the premise of it. And the person who had posted it is well known as a far right agitator, outside of the mainstream parties. But what really upset me was the number of people who were just willing to believe such invented nonsense at face value. And our girls aren't safe now. We need to rise up and stand against this. And it's like, it never happened. It never happened.
No, it's also worth remembering that there was other stuff recently released that demonstrated that a sizable portion of interactions favouring certain political parties turned out to be bots. They're not actually real.
Yeah.
So if anything, there was if anything, it's a reminder that social media isn't the real world. And yes, you can have AI invented nonsense, but if you want human invented nonsense, then listen to it. No, sorry, don't follow up. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it's terrifying how easy it seems to be to convince some people that some things are happening when they're not, and to have people in different echo chambers kind of lobbing at each other. And maybe PMQs is a poor example, because essentially it normally works as a people standing aside a chamber, lobbing verbal messages at each other. Obviously not that sort
Not
of thing.
Of that nature.
But there is a better way to behave. There is a better way to conduct business. There is a better way to do things. And maybe that's something that everybody in the House can be asking of themselves, that so that there's a better example for the country to follow. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, we've had a better one this week. There's only 2 to go before Sir Keir steps aside, and things will be different, but somehow the same, I think.
Yes. So just to quickly kind of summarise, so the nomination stage for the leadership contest in Labour, that begins on the 9th of July, and there's several different kind of stages to the contest, in the sense of nominations and getting affiliate nominations from the required kind of parts of the party. But essentially, if there are no other contenders, all of the nomination process closes at 6 p.m. on the 16th, and then there'll be a leadership special conference on the 17th of July, to announce the winner if there is only one contestant, if their nomination is valid. If there obviously is more than one contestant with valid nominations, then a contest begins.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
I wouldn't put money on it at this point. But
No,
anyway, it's been a feisty one, but it's been like you say, one of his best performances.
Fair play. 1 down, 2 to go. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast PMQ Special. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And I've been Simon Sansbury. Please do make sure, give us a like, follow, comment, subscribe, etc. Join us wherever you can. Make sure you get those notifications when we're next going live. But thanks very much for watching this episode of our review of the leaders' questions in PMQs, and we'll see you next time. He says, I'm pressing the button, and it's
You've got to press the button. Press the
wrong button. There we go.
Press the wrong button. Press the right button.
Don't forget to like, follow and comment on Facebook, or comment and subscribe on YouTube. Find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, X, YouTube, Threads, LinkedIn.